Yamunatira vanachari Yamunatira vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Go Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayo Vishnupada Paramahanta Paribhāśākacārya Aṣṭottara Srimad Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupada Aṣṭottara Srimad Śrīla Bhakti-siddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Maharaj Thakur Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kundi ki Govardhan ki Vrindavan Dham ki Mathura Dham ki Navadvip Dham ki Mayapur Dham ki Jagannath Puri Dham ki Gangamai ki Yamunamai ki Tulsi Devi ki Bhakti Devi ki Samavata Bhakta-vrinda ki Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Vrihat Vidanga Gopimanandi. Glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru Shikoram. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. A reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 74, text number 18. Sadasyāgryārhaṇārhaṁ vimṛśantaḥ sabhā-sadaḥ nādhyagacchann anaika-antyāt sahadevas tadābravīt sadasyāgryārhaṇārhaṁ vimṛśantaḥ sabhā-sadaḥ nādhyagacchann anaika-antyāt sahadevas tadābravīt sadasyāgryārhaṇārhaṁ vimṛśantaḥ sabhā-sadaḥ nādhyagacchann anaika-antyāt sahadevas tadābravīt sadasyāgryārhaṇārhaṁ vimṛśantaḥ sabhā-sadaḥ adhyagacchann anaika-antyāt Vaishnavi. Nādhyagacchann anaika-antyāt sahadevas abravīt sadasya of the members of the assembly, agrya, first, arhaṇa, worship, arham, him who deserves, by indeed, vimṛśantaḥ, pondering over, sabhā, in the assembly, tadā, those seated, nādhyagacchann, they could not come to a conclusion, anaika-antyāt, because of the great number of qualified candidates. Sahadeva, Sahadeva, the younger brother of Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira. Tadā, then, abravīt, spoke. Translation and purport. The members of the assembly then pondered over who among them should be worshipped first. But since there were many personalities qualified for this honor, they were unable to decide. Finally, Sahadeva spoke up. Everyone can please repeat. The members of the assembly then pondered over who among them should be worshipped first. But since there were many personalities qualified for this honor, they were unable to decide. Finally, Sahadeva spoke up. Purport. Srila Prabhupada writes, another important procedure is that the most exalted personality in the assembly of such a sacrificial ceremony is first offered worship. This particular ceremony is called Agra-puja. Agrya means first and puja means worship. This Agra-puja is similar to the election of the president. In the sacrificial assembly, all the members were very exalted. Some proposed to elect one person as the perfect candidate for accepting Agra-puja, and others proposed someone else. As the great Acharya Jiva Goswami points out, text 15 of this chapter states that the members of the assembly were not astonished at the opulence of the sacrifice, since they knew that King Yudhiṣṭhira was a devotee of Lord Krishna. Still, text 18 now states that the assembly could not select the most deserving candidate for being worshipped first. This indicates that many of the Brahmins present were not fully realized transcendentalists, but rather conventional Brahmanas, uncertain of the supreme conclusion of Vedic wisdom. Similarly, Acharya Vishwanath comments that the undecided members of the assembly were the less intelligent ones, and not such exalted personalities as Brahma, Shiva, and Dvapayana Vyasadeva, who thought, since today no one is asking our opinion, why should we say anything? Furthermore, here is Sahadeva, who is renowned for his sharp skill in analyzing all sorts of circumstances. He can help appoint the person who is to be worshipped first. Only if he somehow fails to speak or cannot understand the situation, we will speak up, despite no one's having inquired from us. Having made up their minds in this way, the greatest personalities remain silent. This is how Vishwanath Chakravarti advises us to understand what occurred in the assembly. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Karanjana Shalakaya Chakshurummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Rishatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, just before going into the verse, I just wanted to mention, today is the disappearance day of Sri Jagannath Das Babaji, and of course he's such a great personality. Sometimes he would chant the holy name for 3 days and not eat or sleep, just chanting the holy name. No, not just 64 rounds or 108 rounds, but just never stopped, so absorbed. As Rupa Goswami says, Jane Jano Amritaya Kyat Bir Krishna Varna Dvai. Who knows how much nectar there are in these 2 syllables, Krishna? No. So a neophyte devotee has trouble chanting because they have no taste. And a very advanced devotee sometimes has trouble chanting because they have too much taste. No. So they go into ecstasy. No. Or they just forget about the material body. No. So we can beg Sri Jagannath Das Babaji that he can give us that empowerment of that much attachment to the holy name. He was also very famous, especially here in Vrindavan, to be kind to all living entities. One time, there was some small dogs, some puppies, and he was taking his prasadam and they were eating from his plate. And so his servant came and moved them away. And he said, he stopped eating. And he said, until they come back, they are dumb dogs. They're dumb dogs, so they should eat before me. So then the servant let them come back. Just like Lord Chaitanya, he also blessed dogs. Sometimes here it's not, dogs are not so fortunate. Well, they are fortunate because they live in Vrindavan, but they don't get treated in such a fortunate way. But nowadays they feed them. When I first got here, nobody would feed the dogs, and they were kind of angry, and you had to always carry a stick because they would try to bite you. But now devotees feed them, so they're more friendly. So Lord Chaitanya, when he was a young boy, he and his friends, they found some puppies. And so each one of them, they let Lord Chaitanya choose first. And he chose one. He said, oh, you got the nicest one. Said, well, you let me choose first. So he took his puppy home, and his mother said, what kind of training have I given to you? You're supposed to be a Brahmin, and you have a dog, and a dog belongs outside. And he started crying. So she said, no, that's okay. You go take your bath, and I'll take care of the dog. So as soon as he left, she let the dog go. And he came back. Of course, he's omniscient. He knew what happened. She said, oh, he ran away. What could I do? Sorry. So he didn't bother about it. So sometime later, this dog came out in the marketplace, and he got up on his hind legs and put his front legs in the air and started chanting, Krishna, Krishna, Govinda, Govinda. And he fell into ecstasy and fell over. And a chariot came and took him back to Goloka Vrindavan. And then, of course, another time, Lord Chaitanya was on his way to Jagannath Puri, and Shivananda saying, one dog started following them. So he took care of the dog, he fed the dog. Even when they crossed the river, he paid the tax so the dog could cross the river. And then one day the dog disappeared, very near Jagannath Puri. And Shivananda saying, sent all the devotees looking for the dog. No one could understand, well, why this attachment to this dog. And then they all arrived, and Lord Chaitanya was seated, and they all came in to take prasadam. He invited them to take prasadam. And the dog was sitting at the end. And Lord Chaitanya took some coconut pulp, threw it to the dog, and the dog ate it, and also fell over dead, and his forearm form rose out and went back to Vaikuntha. So those are some fortunate dogs. Of course, all the dogs here are fortunate because they're in Vrindavan. So anyway, and he was very kind. He would sometimes buy huge quantities of rasgullas and give it to the cows and say, these are dham cows. So he was one time he actually sponsored a feast for dogs. He actually paid for a big feast of plates, and nobody knew who he was inviting, and he invited all the dogs to come and take prasad. So, such a great personality with that vision of everyone. Everyone is equal. And also at his disappearance day of Rasikananda, who was such a great devotee, disciple of Shyamananda Prabhu. He was endowed with transcendental mystic powers. Sometimes he would cure people, and especially one time one envious Muslim was envious because he was spreading the holy name, So sometimes some Muslims, they're not very happy when another religion becomes prominent. So he released this mad elephant who was like intoxicated the elephant, and released him in the direction of Rasikananda. And everyone said, move, get out of the way, this elephant. And he just stood there. And the elephant ran up to him. And he chanted the holy name. The elephant stopped, got down, offered obeisances, and then raised up his trunk and chanted Krishna, Krishna. And he initiated him as Gopal and put him in the service of the Lord. Such a powerful devotee. He was very famous, just like Narottam, even more than Narottam Das Thakur. He was more famous for giving Krishna consciousness to the very, very low-class, undeserving people, Muslims, anybody. He gave, one time, he told the devotees to wash one of his disciples, wash the feet of all the devotees, and then bring me the Charnamrita. And he brought it, and he took a little, and he said, something's wrong here, there's something missing. He said, is there someone you didn't take Charnamrita from? And he said, yes, one devotee, but he has leprosy on his feet. He said, immediately, bring me that water. So he brought the water, and he took it. He said, now it's complete. So merciful. And anyways, these great personalities, on these appearance and disappearance days, we can beg for that they will empower us for more attraction to the holy name, devotional service. So, this particular verse, this is an interesting chapter that it begins, Yudhiṣṭhira is glorifying Krishna. It's obvious that Yudhiṣṭhira considers Krishna, as it says here, agrya-arhaṇārhaṁ. He considers him to be the most worthy person. Very clear. But because in the beginning, he was glorifying Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then in some of the previous verses, he said, but one thing I cannot understand is, how is it that you are serving us? I can't understand this. Yudhiṣṭhira. Because Krishna is controlled by his devotees. Ayam sandarshita ahyanga, that Krishna is so merciful that harina britya vashyata, that he is controlled by his devotees. Swavashyenapi krishnena. Krishna is the supreme controller. And yasyedam shishwaram vashe. He controls Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva. They're present here in the assembly. So, but he allows himself to be controlled by his devotees. Yat parayasho tais jita chitop tais trilokyam. That although he is no one in the three worlds can control him, he is controlled by his devotees. So Yudhiṣṭhira is lamenting about this. Now the residents of Vrindavan, they didn't have this dilemma, because they didn't see Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They saw Krishna as, the most wonderful person. Just like when Krishna entered into the sports arena of Kamsa, then there's a verse, I can't remember the verse now, but it's a very beautiful verse. It says that his parents saw him as a young, innocent child. Ordinary people saw him as the best person. Kamsa saw him as death personified. The Kshatriyas saw him as an undefeatable opponent, and the ladies saw him as Cupid personified. So everyone saw Krishna in a different way, but they didn't see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Yudhiṣṭhira, and of course the residents of Mathura and Dwarka, they have a dilemma, because they do see Krishna as the Supreme Person. But then Krishna wants to be controlled by them. And this is very difficult for them. So he spoke about this in the beginning of the chapter, that how can I, Krishna, how can you do that? Just like Bhishma, when he was speaking to the Pandavas, he said, you don't realize, who, yam manasye matulayam. You don't realize that this person who you call your cousin, Priyam Mitram, or your very dear friends, Suhrittamam, or your benefactor, Akaro, Sachivan, Dutam, or your counselor, or your messenger, or Sadatim. You see him as all these things. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Don't you realize who he is? You're seeing him in this way. So they had this, sometimes they had this conflict. We saw this conflict in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna, when he saw the universal form, he said, I've been sitting with you as a friend. I didn't realize. I asked you to show your opulences, but I thought, like little opulence. And this is like overwhelming. What do I do? And Krishna then took his forearm form. It's like when somebody's getting off of drugs. Sometimes they have to take some lighter type of drug. So when getting off of the universal form, he had to first see the forearm form. Would have been too much to see the two-arm form right away. Then he saw the two-arm form. So Yudhiṣṭhira had, and he was, how can we be so foolish to try to be controlled by you? And we're trying to engage you in different ways. You're the Supreme Personality of God. So he was glorifying Krishna. He was setting the stage so that Krishna would be that person who will be obvious that he will be established as the supreme person in the Rajasuya sacrifice. But as it says here, Srila Prabhupada says in his quote from Srila Prabhupada from the Krishna book, that, and it says in the verse, there are many qualified persons. So it seems like, it seems like from our explanation from Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas, it seems like everyone was indecisive. But actually, the great personalities, as it says here, the explanation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they said, nobody asked us. No. This shows that even though they're so powerful, they have some humility. No. Although nobody asked my opinion. Sometimes we're over anxious to stand out. No. I'm a scholar, I'm very learned, or I know. Just like sometimes I do this myself out of false ego. Someone will say something that I already know. I know. No. I have to let them know I know, instead of being humble and just accept that they're saying something about Krishna. Let me hear, even if I've heard it 100 times. No. We're never satiated by hearing about Krishna. So, but the false ego jumps in. No, I know. No. And so, but they didn't do that. Nobody asked our opinion. We'll see what happens. And Sahadev's here. Sahadev, Jiva Goswami explains that his name, Saha, with Deva, always with Krishna. So he's always thinking about Krishna. And so he's a great person. He will identify who that person is. Although Yudhiṣṭhira has already indicated it. But Yudhiṣṭhira, among the Pandavas, is humble. They're Kshatriyas, but he's a Vaishnava. So a Vaishnava, whether he's a Kshatriya, Brahmin, by external calculation, they have humility. And so they were waiting, and if he doesn't identify, then we can give our opinion. And what would be their opinion? Their opinion would be Krishna. But as Srila Prabhupada says, some people proposed other persons. Of course, even before Shishupal proposed, anybody but Krishna. He said, Krishna, and we'll see this later on in the chapter. Krishna, what has he accomplished? He doesn't have a kingdom. Just like Krishna himself, when he was teasing Rukmini, he said, why do you want to marry me? As a cowherd, I failed as a cowherd boy, as a Vaishya, because I don't have any cows. And I failed as a Kshatriya because I don't have a kingdom. So I'm an utter failure. Why do you want to marry? Better you marry. No. And she froze up. She fainted. No. She couldn't believe it. No, Krishna was joking. He wanted to see her have a little, Brahman tendency, a little left-wing tendency. No. But no, she cannot do that. No one can deviate from their actual position, because this is what Krishna wants. He wants that particular rasa. Just like every one of us exists because we represent some particular relationship with Krishna. And they're unlimited living entities. So Krishna has unlimited capability to enjoy, and therefore each one of us has some, in our pure state, has some characteristics. Right now, the characteristics we have, Krishna is not so interested. He's interested in unveiling our real identity. Srila Prabhupada explained one time, that one very nice lecture, that the living entity is like a seed within the body. And the more we perform bhakti, then our spiritual body begins to grow from that seed. And when we come to perfection, our spiritual body becomes manifest. Very beautiful explanation, one class Srila Prabhupada gave. And so, Krishna, he wants everybody to, everybody represents, and you can just imagine what Krishna's capability is. Unlimited living entities, and he has that personal relationship with everyone. Of course, in the rasa dance, he manifests this. And in Lord Chaitanya, when he's in the kirtan, Rath-yatra kirtan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that his kirtan with his pure devotees had the same intensity of rasa as the rasa dance. In other words, the kirtan rasa, the tasting of the holy name, is so intense that the devotees enter into a similar state of ecstasy. Sometimes we confuse ecstasy with the mode of passion. I see the devotees say an ecstatic kirtan, and a lot of times there's a little mode of passion. I can see, a little rajagun in there. Especially younger devotees, they got a lot of energy, and it's good that they use that. Although I remember in Mayapur, 1976, most of the leaders were very young, and Prabhupada was coming from his morning walk, and they were doing really wild kirtan, running from one side of the temple to the other and sliding in front of the deities, and running to the other side, sliding, and like, for those Americans, sliding into first base, and then, and then Srila Prabhupada came, and he didn't even go, he would come back usually from his walk and go right to the deities, the curtain would open. They would wait for him. I mean, sometimes if he got there 5 minutes late, the deities would open when he came. But he sat on the Vyasasana, and he said, "This is nonsense. This is simply lust." He said, that kirtan means to dance for the pleasure of the deity. And even sometimes I see devotees that get a little carried away in front of the deity, start doing all kinds of different styles. Gymnastics and all kinds of things. And kind of the deity gets into the back, on the back burner. And so we have to be very careful. Of course, Lord Chaitanya danced ecstatically. He would jump up in the air so high, that when he came down, the earth would shake, and people it would make such a noise that, especially Mother Sachi and devotees who very much cared, they would think he broke his bones. And sometimes when he's chanting, his teeth would chatter, and people thought he would break his teeth, making so much noise. But that's real ecstasy. And that ecstasy we can understand because it's tears shooting from the eyes, like Lord Chaitanya in the Rath-yatra. Tears were shooting out, it says, like syringes, like shooting out, and everybody was getting blessed by his tears. Even Prataparuddha, the first time he saw Lord Chaitanya, which was the second visit of Lord Chaitanya, he asked Gopinathacharya, after Gopinathacharya took him to see the devotees as he came. So he saw Advaitacharya and he was overwhelmed. He said, "Who is that personality?" And he said, "Oh, that is Advaitacharya. He is the greatest personality. His bhakti is unlimited." And one after another, he saw these devotees. "I want to see Lord Chaitanya." Gopinathacharya said, he won't be so favorable to seeing a king. He said, "Please, please." So he arranged that Prataparuddha was hidden in a place. Now normally when somebody was hidden, just like the famous brahmachari in the house of Shivas, Lord Chaitanya would complain that something's wrong here. Like when the mother-in-law of Shivas she wanted to see Lord Chaitanya's kirtan, so Shivas hid her under a basket. But Lord Chaitanya immediately detected it and they dragged her out by her hair. He's disturbing Lord Chaitanya's kirtan. And also the brahmachari. But this time Lord Chaitanya, although he knew Prataparuddha was there, but Lord Chaitanya wanted to teach him something. He didn't stop the kirtan. He had his ecstatic kirtan. It became so ecstatic that saliva was flowing from his mouth and his nose. His body was covered with dust. and some of the saliva was on his body, and it was like dust caked on his body. And Gopinathacharya had said that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he said, how can the Supreme Personality of Godhead be covered with dust and saliva? This is like material body. And then that night he was confused, because his conception of Jagannath was Aishwarya, seeing Jagannath as the incarnation of Nilamadhava, Vishnu. And so Vishnu doesn't do these things. And so that night he had a dream, and Lord Jagannath appeared in the dream very beautifully adorned with jewelry and perfumed oils. And then he went running toward Lord Jagannath, and Jagannath said, "Stop. You like me very much when I'm like this. But when I'm like this," then saliva came out of his mouth, his body was covered with dust. "You don't like me like this." And then he transformed into Lord Chaitanya. And he understood. Actually, he understood all the things that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Gopinathacharya had explained to him, that he is actually the Supreme Lord Krishna. He's Krishna himself. He's not just Vishnu, he's Krishna. And he could understand, because he had also some doubts which were externally expressed by Parikshit Maharaj, that how can the Supreme Lord have alliances with young girls? He was a little confused. But then when he saw this, he understood. Even when he went to take darshan of Lord Jagannath the next day, he was sitting next to the head priest, and Prataparudra saw Lord Jagannath, and then he transformed into Lord Chaitanya. And he said to the priest, You see the sannyasi? Head priest, "No, I don't see any sannyasi." And then he turned it Jagannath again. He thought, maybe I'm hallucinating. But then it happened again. And then he turned to the priest. The priest is just looking at Jagannath. So he could understand that he got a special blessing, very special blessing. So anyway, going back to this purport, since we're getting close to Gaur Purnima, thinking a little bit about Lord Chaitanya. And so Yudhiṣṭhira, he's glorifying Lord Krishna. And after, there were some suggestions actually. And one suggestion was Bhishma. But Bhishma said, I'm not more qualified, Krishna's more qualified. Because Krishna was dancing with young girls, and he was unaffected. He said, if I was in that situation, I would not be unaffected. Therefore, Krishna is the greatest personality. He should be. And of course, Shishupal, we'll read later, he makes anything except for Krishna. And he actually thought that he should be the one. And of course, he was the one that got Krishna's special mercy. So anyway, the point is that Yudhiṣṭhira is glorifying Krishna. He's showing us that when you understand who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as it says here and in previous verses, even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lakshmi, this was a realization by Uddhava also. When Uddhava was speaking to the gopis, then Uddhava, he said that these gopis, they can put their arms around Krishna. Even Lakshmi cannot do that. What to speak of Brahma and Shiva? They embrace Krishna in a very, very special, loving way. And even Lakshmi Devi cannot understand this. So he was just understanding the great position of the gopis. So the devotees, when we read these verses, like this particular chapter, how Krishna is being identified as the Supreme Person. Of course, we know that But the Bhagavatam again and again and again emphasizes, because we have to understand that, we're conditioned. We can sometimes doubt something about Krishna, or we can wonder, why is Krishna putting me through all these difficulties? Of course, a devotee doesn't see them as difficulties; sees them as opportunities, opportunities to advance. And therefore, just like Queen Kunti, she said, "Give me more of these opportunities." Well, of course, most of us, we don't have that level of, that give me more. We already have enough. Just let me be your devotee. Let me serve you properly. But when someone is on this level of Yudhiṣṭhira, the Pandavas, these topmost pure devotees, whatever Krishna does, whatever they see, everything is perfect. So the Bhagavatam again and again and again is reminding us through one pastime and another pastime and another pastime of the supremacy of Krishna. But Krishna, Jiva Goswami, when he comments on this verse, he said, Krishna just wanted to wash the feet of everyone present, except for maybe Duryodhana and a few others, a few of his friends. But that was Krishna's desire. But the devotees want to glorify him. So when we think again, Lord Chaitanya, he had this particular rasa with Advaitacharya. Because Advaitacharya wanted Lord Chaitanya to accept him as his servant. But Lord Chaitanya, in his mood of a devotee, wanted to glorify Advaitacharya as the supreme. So in one occasion, Advaitacharya was waiting for Lord Chaitanya, and just waiting, and Lord Chaitanya went into ecstasy, and he fainted. And then Advaitacharya ran up, grabbed his feet, and with his hair, he washed Lord Chaitanya's feet like this with his head. And then Lord Chaitanya woke up, and he said, my ecstasy has gone. Someone has taken away my ecstasy. Who is that thief? And he looked at Advaitacharya, and he said, my Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I want to see you in that way. Please don't pretend. And Lord Chaitanya said, you are the greatest personality. They were arguing like this. And then Advaita said, but anyway, if you want to be the Supreme, you can try, but I will not allow it. If you want to be my servant, I will not allow it. I want to see you as Supreme. So Advaita tried to his feet, and Lord Chaitanya grabbed him, and he was trying to grab Advaitacharya's lotus feet. Of course, Lord Chaitanya was stronger, and he got Advaita's feet and put it on his head, and Advaita was... So sometime later in another kirtan, Advaita wanted to grab the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya would not allow it. And then he again touched his lotus feet, and he said, Lord Chaitanya said, someone has taken away my devotion today. I was walking through Navadvip, and there were so many materialistic people. Certainly that's what's happened. But then Advaita said, no, my Lord, you give your mercy to any gardener, any, grain miller, anyone, but not to Advaita and not to Srivas. No, you want to treat us differently. And he said, you can do that if you like. No, because you are the Supreme Person. But you must understand that this is not proper. And Lord Chaitanya looked at him, and he ran out of the room. He ran out of the house, ran to the Ganga, and jumped in. And Nityananda and Haridas ran after him, and they pulled him out of the Ganga. They said, my Lord, what are you doing? he said, if my devotees cannot understand me, why I should give up this body? No. And he said, I am going to the house of Nandana-acharya. Whenever there was a difficulty, Lord Chaitanya would go there. And he said that you don't tell anybody where I am, otherwise you will never see me again. No. So the next day he spent all night speaking about Krishna with Nandana-acharya. And then the next morning he called for Srivas. And he said, how is Advaita? He said, oh my Lord, I cannot describe his condition. You would think he was dead, but he's still breathing. And so he said, take me to him. So he went to see, he said, Advaita, what's wrong with you? He said, my Lord, I have caused you so much grief. And Lord Chaitanya said, just like the king may have ministers, the minister pays all of the guards. But if the minister makes a mistake, the guards come and put him in prison. No. So, whenever we make a mistake, we should be happy that we receive the punishment of the master. And so then Advaita said, then you will accept me, you're the master, you will accept me as I'm your servant? And Lord Chaitanya said, no. So then Advaita decided, there's only one way I can get him to make me his servant. I will preach Yoga Vasishtha and Mayavad philosophy. Then he will punish me, and that's what happened. So the point is that in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, in these pastimes in 10th canto, everyone is glorifying Krishna, but Krishna wants to be under the control of his devotees. But in the 5th canto, it is said that the demigods are praying, and they say that Krishna can give liberation to anyone, but he doesn't give bhakti so easily because he comes under the control of that person. So this is the special characteristic, the special quality of a devotee, atmano britya vashyatam, that, as it says in the 11th chapter of this canto, that the very essence of Krishna's existence is to be controlled by his devotees. Speaking about how Krishna would sometimes, someone would ask for their shoes and he would bring Nanda Maharaj's shoes, or someone would ask for something and he would bring it. He always wants to be in that position. But of course, we can't take advantage of that and say, well, okay, that's great. I can engage Krishna so many ways. No, he can help me out. We have to be very careful to always maintain our position as his eternal servant. So these are some thoughts on this verse. I'll stop here. And any comments or questions?
Krishna said in the Bhagavatam that someone is envious and jealous, he can't understand Krishna. So if you're envious and jealous, then how do you get over that envy and jealousy if you can't understand Krishna? Is there a special formula for that?
Special formula?
For getting free from envy and jealousy?
Well, I always say one of the best ways to get rid of envy is to develop humility. And one of the best ways to develop humility is go serve the person who you like less. The person who you least care for, go serve that person. No. That helps take away envy.
That's really humble.
So anyway, I mean, the whole Bhagavad Gita is meant for that. No? And of course the Bhagavatam says, you can't even understand this Bhagavatam. No? Dharmakaitavit totra paramo nirmatsaram satam, that this Bhagavatam is meant for those who are free from envy. So Bhagavad Gita is to help us become free from envy, because Krishna says to Arjuna that idam tatte guyatamam pravaksham yana suyave, that I'm speaking this to you because you're free from envy. So everything up to that point, the beginning of the 9th chapter, is to help us get free from envy, so that we can hear Krishna's explanation of especially the 9th chapter of devotional service, and his conclusion, man mano bhavama bhaktir, which is right in the middle. It's the heart of the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, is to surrender to Krishna. And you can't do that without giving up envy, so better to study the first part of Gita and give up envy, prepare ourselves to give it up. And of course, chanting the holy name purely. This instruction of Lord Chaitanya is to help us give up envy. Yes, Hare Krishna. I keep saying we need a drone, to just take the microphone around.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have a request and a question. I humbly request you to, can you pray Krishna Bhava so that my Guru Maharaj finds me and bless me with Harinam. My question is we see in this world that everyone is confused. So therefore I am also confused, there are many types of bhakti sadhana. We can do more name, chanting more, or reading more, or serving Vaishnavas, or do duty more. What is which is the main thing that we should focus more and do other things maintain our?
That question was asked to Lord Chaitanya by what's his name? From Kulinagram, Satyaraj Khan. So he asked Lord Chaitanya, he said, I'm a grihastha, I'm immersed in external activities. How can I become more Krishna conscious? Lord Chaitanya said, Krishna seva, Vaishnava seva, nirantara harinam sankirtan. You serve Krishna, you serve the Vaishnavas, and you chant the holy name incessantly. So then one will say, well, I've been chanting the holy name for X amount of years and I'm still absorbed in so many materialistic activities. So then we take very seriously Lord Chaitanya's teachings, how we can acquire a taste for the holy name. First we chant. Srila Prabhupada said that before you explain the rules and regulations, just let somebody become happy by chanting the holy name. Then you can explain the rule. Don't give them the rules and regulations before they have some taste, then they'll just go away. But if they have some taste, then no. So therefore, we give prasadam, we have nice kirtans, and we engage people in chanting, and then we feel happiness from chanting, then they're willing to accept some discipline in their spiritual life. So that discipline in the spiritual life, and especially, as you said, serving the Vaishnavas, very important thing. Lord Chaitanya gave 3 things. Vaishnava seva, nami ruchi, and jiva hridoy. That first, I always put it in that order. If you serve the Vaishnavas, then you get a taste for chanting the holy name. And when you have a taste for the holy name, jivedoya, then you want to give that to others. So if we do it in that order. No. So Vaishnava Seva is very important. And even Rupa Goswami says that. No. First we get some initial faith, adosha, and then sadhusanga. We associate with the devotees. But how do we associate with the devotees? By serving them. Lord Chaitanya gave that example when he came back from Gaya. You know, he came back and nobody could understand. He was Nimai Pandit, very proud scholar, and now he wants to wash the clothes of the devotees, bringing them the mud from the Ganga to make tilak. You know, such a transformation. So he showed us that how important this is. He himself took that position. So we take maybe one more question and time to move on.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, for the wonderful class. I really had a doubt when you said that to get rid of our envy, we should try to serve the very person whom we like the least. Generally, we keep ourselves away from a person whom we like the least. So how can I do it? Suppose I like a person the least, means I hate him more and more. So how come I serve him? Because I would generally like to keep myself away from him.
Well, just
so that there are no further troubles.
Yeah. Well, generally if you serve someone very nicely, then the problems will go away. No. Because even if they don't have good consciousness, they'll be thinking, oh, he's finally realized who I am. No. So they'll be pleasant, from that point on. Finally realized who I am. And so, but anyway, just serve any Vaishnava. We can start out serving the nicest Vaishnava, then you can work your way down. So, yes, okay, one more, very quick because we're over time.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the lovely class. Just in continuation with the Prabhuji, like, in the family, if somebody in the family doesn't, like if we don't have a good relationship because of whatever reasons, and that person doesn't want prasad, doesn't want the holy name, that person doesn't want guidance, doesn't want anything to do with me, then the only thing is that we can pray for that person, right? To Prabhupada and to the Lord to make him your devotee's devotee, or what else can we do?
So, we all have family, but when we expand the conception of family to include everyone, because everyone is part of Krishna's family, then we have proper vision, which that vision is that we see everyone as part and parcel of Krishna. Mamaibam so jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana. And why do we have attachment to family? Is because it's natural. You want to be attached to that which is most dear to you. So when we realize that Krishna is the most dear person, then everyone becomes dear to us. And if everyone is not dear to us, we can understand still Krishna is not completely dear to me. So at least with our internal vision, we should see that way. Externally, for preaching or for practical life, we may have to differentiate. But the family attachment is just missing Krishna. And when Krishna is there, then my family attachment increases because I understand they're Vaishnavas. And you can love a Vaishnava more than you can love your family, if you're Krishna conscious. So, anyway, the point is that we just have to expand our family until everyone is included.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Shyama Sundar, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.